G'day from Oz. My name is Jacob and this is Crypto Critics. What I'm hoping this channel will be about is discussing common things like upcoming ICOs and strategies, maybe a bit of day trading, just share some knowledge to the community from my perspective and my experience. So up front, I'm not a financial advisor. It's not my background. My background is IT. I've been in IT for about 20 years. I've worked for a pretty large company. Don't mind what I do, but I don't want to retire when I'm 70. So I've been from Oz. I don't trust our super being around until 70. I know that there's a few institutions out here that would love to have that money. So I don't want to retire that late. I think I probably won't make it, knowing my luck. And my kids will want to spend my money well before I can. So what I want to do is try and set up an alternative revenue, and that's what I've done. And in July this year, I put $5,000 aside after a bit of a disagreement with the bank. And I paid my car loan off in full, and then took money out. And that $5,000 is now about $42,000. So I would say that's beaten what the bank would have offered me, and probably beaten what Super would have done. And when I consider what I've done to get there, I don't think there was a huge amount of risk. I think there's a bit of more diligence than there is risk. So this is one of those wonderful areas where if you can get in, if your government doesn't stop you from getting in, get in with a few dollars now, not heaps, just as much as you can afford to invest. I say to my mates, you probably spend more at the pokies than what I have on cryptocurrency, and yet I have more control, because if I'm good, I should be able to do research. I can't go into the casino and find out what the poker machine's back end's all about and stuff like that. So this is a bit better than gambling, but in reality it is still like gambling. You're risking high reward, high risk. So only put in what you can lose. And the first rule I always say is, if you've got a wife or a partner, discuss it with them first. They might be a bit concerned if they see you looking at your phone for 50 times a day, because no, you're not on I don't know what those apps are, but those naughty apps. But yeah, they might start worrying. So yeah, you're not having an affair, but it's going to start looking like it once you get involved with crypto markets. So but I enjoy it. It's a good experience. It's something that you can manage yourself. You put in as little effort, as much effort as you like, depending on your strategy. You can be a long-term holder, or you can be a short-term day trader. But I think day trading will age you considerably very quickly, whereas long-term hold on a good ICO seems to be a nice strategy. Now, for example, what I want to bring to the fray is a decent metric system. So yes, there are metric systems out there, and look, I give credit to them. They're pretty good. I won't argue with guys like Ian Bellino and stuff, but when Ian becomes a metric himself, that's when it becomes hard to determine the quality of a company or quality of an ICO, when he's bringing over a lot of his followers. Now, that's not to knock him. The guy's bloody good. But I still think there's some times where they have these AMAs, and it's like, shit, I wish you asked that question. It's a legit question. I would love to see these guys on the back foot, because to be honest, AMAs should be about ICOs being on the back foot. They shouldn't come in with a script. They should be able to come in, and if they know their shit, they'll answer it properly. Classic example was bread. Now, it was asked, and it's been asked, and it was a bit polite the way it was asked about how the company will manage its share of the tokens. Will it go into a vesting period? And bread was skirting around the idea. Now, that automatically should be something that triggers some alarms. So at the end of the day, what I want to see is, hopefully a rising tide brings up all ships. So if we start asking the hard questions, like if AMAs, if ICOs can come past, get on the back foot, and then still pass, then they've got the medal. So that's what we want to do. We want to rise the quality of the interviewing of these AMAs. Basically keep the bastards honest, as we used to say in Australia. So that's basically what I want to achieve with this channel. I want to get some credibility. I don't want to be the sole source. I would like the community to have its input. I would like, in Australia, I'd love to have a financial guy get on and give us some tax advice. It shouldn't be all about ICOs, but this space is one of those Wild West, and I guess there's no sheriffs in town, so we need to know where we stand, especially if you want to cash out. There's another thing I want to go through eventually is my rules for getting involved. But when you start wanting to cash out, you need to know what your laws are, especially if you're going to get investing in ICOs, because you can make some good money, but you need to think about how it's going to come out and whether you want to do it the right way or the not so right way. So that'll be in an upcoming episode, but this is more just about who I am, what I am. I'm also, as I said, I've been in IT for 20 years, so I think in this space, when you start hearing some of the gobbledygook that goes in when they talk about the infrastructure and what goes on the back end, it's good to have an IT background. So, for example, and this is another example and I'll call them out, Substratum. In their early days, they got off with some soft AMAs because they got caught kind of giving the wrong impression, I'll put it politely, on a few things. So at the end of the day, yes, I would have loved to seen Substratum go through a more rigorous interview process and be held accountable for some of the stuff that they presented. But yeah, Substratum. Anyway, I'll sorry to get off topic. It's one of my pet peeves too, because it's gone up heaps. But yes, that's who I am. Look, my whole attitude is we'll go through these things, we'll ask the hard questions. If it don't stack up, look, it's up to you guys. Sometimes hype is worth money, and Substratum's definitely a classic product of that, where I think they're very good users on the media. Again, Power Ledger is another thing. Once we start talking about how these things all come into play and stuff, we might do that now. Here's some of the stuff I've put together and what I think should be in any metrics for ICOs. Alright, so as I was saying, social ratings and hype. When guys like Ian Bellina and bloody Suppo Man pisses me off. He's like bloody a goat. He makes you feel like you've walked into a casino and everything's going to pay off. But those guys have some serious following, so when they jump onto something, that could be worth a pump and dump opportunity. So it's worth keeping an eye on the feeds and stuff from ICOs. Keeping in mind, here's another classic example with one from today I was looking at. Give me a second. Anyway, it was an airdrop. Give me a second. Anyway, it was an airdrop. It's been on Facebook feeds, and it gives off a fake indicator with its Telegram feed, because to get the airdrop, you've got to be a member of its Telegram group. So sometimes that could be a false misrepresentation. Excuse me. Now, token metrics, we all know them to death. Anyone that's watched half the videos on YouTube would know token metrics. What gets me is a bunch of PhD kids coming out of school saying we've got an ICO, and then the hype going, these kids are the next best thing. Whereas you look at, and I'll say Cardano, the guys from Cardano look pretty seasoned and pretty real. So I think sometimes when we've got to take into account judging the team and its team members, it comes down to tyres on the road. How much time have you been out there doing your trade? It's great to come out of school with your pet project, but and I'm not knocking pet projects. Look at Facebook and stuff, but you've got to measure that somehow. Stuff like I would go, white papers, previous history. So have they got another company or previous history of age team members? Are they legitimate team members? Are they just part-timers? That's another thing. Site metrics, age of domain, host providers, quality of URLs, access to real information. So what I'm saying there, sometimes I'll register the domain 3 minutes before the ICO and claim it's been up there for yonks, or the name's been registered something dodgy. But again, it's just another thing. It's not a high metric, but it just, if any of these things start to fall out of place, feels a bit fishy and doesn't feel right, SSL certs are not right, or something, look at the site itself. Token metrics, as I said, we all know. Team metrics. Now, locations of teams to each other. This is a kicker. Amount of time I hear, oh, we've got a guy in, Baghdad, we've got another guy in Antarctica, and 3 guys out back in Oz, and we're going to expect some cohesion here. Yeah, this is a challenge. It's a legitimate challenge. Yeah, if the team is based in the same office in the same country, then the likelihood of the product being accelerated is there. But if it's not, and this is the problem, then also you've got team members that might not be under the legal jurisdiction of anyone. Yeah, again, there's some sketchy stuff. So especially if half your team's from Russia, the other half's from, Liberia or something like that, you start raising your eyebrows. One thing I noticed is there's always a figurehead for ICOs. There's always 1 or 2 people, and you're not sure if they're really part of the team or technically skilled. They're just people that just know how to talk. I guess hopefully we can spot these people. What I want to see is more of the team together. I want to see 2 or 3 of these guys pinned in a room on the spot. And basically be engaging to the public. Now, I'm not asking for every team member, but it's just, you see on the panels and these white papers, there's 20 team members and 40 advisors. How many of them legitimately are participating, and how much participation are they involved in? These are legit metrics. You see some guys and they might write 1 line of code and they're an advisor. Well, come on. Fair suck of the old sav, as we say in Australia. Now, other stuff, product metrics, maturity of product, alpha, beta, white paper, thought in my sleep, competitors, corporate partnerships, user base, location of that user base, stuff like that. This all needs to be measured as well. Type of product, whether it's blockchain or if it's finance or something else, utility exchange, is an exchange. All these things can have an impact on its long term, especially exchanges in countries and stuff like that. So if it's a decentralized exchange, sounds really good, because some of those things are great until you go to Ethdata. But again, some of these things, like is the code open source, proprietary? How mature is the GitHub? You see 3 lines of code and they go, look, we've had a product up for yonks, and yet the code was committed 2 days ago in a rush too. Quality of the code, auditing of the code, etc., etc., etc. And the problem that it solves. People. This is the funny thing. They go, we're going to change the user base. We're going to create a blockchain search engine. And it's like, great, and I love the idea. I really do. I think blockchain is a great idea. Decentralization is a scary and sexy idea at the same time. But you're going to ask the average mindless Joe Blow to switch from Google to what? So, it's a slow process. It's got to be one of those things. But again, some things like wallets, well, that's going to probably have a high use and exchanges, because it's the flavour of the month. It's what needs to happen. It's part of the infrastructure itself. Without it, people can't sell. It doesn't work. So it comes down to, what's the token going to get used for? Business metrics. Are they a registered business, or are they unregistered? If they're registered, when was the registration done? Who's on the board of members if it was registered, etc., etc. So these things all need to be measured, and if anything discrepancy comes through, you need to go, what's going on? And here's a question. I need you to answer this at an AMA about this discrepancy. If you pass this question, tick. You get a B+ or something like that, and that's what I want to do. We're going to grade these mofos. So country of origin. We've had some in Australia. We're pretty heavily regulated. ACCC and whatnot have said that while ICOs will be allowed in Australia, they're still subject to the same laws, consumer laws. So these ICOs can't make false representation. So Australia's not a bad place for ICOs. That's why I didn't mind investing in Power Ledger. But I would be suspect about investing in a Nigerian ICO. Come on, common sense here. So, if they're registered in a country, then yes, it's a painful process. But if you lose a lot, you could probably maybe do something small about it. All right. Remember, the likelihood is you've lost your money. Have they got a pre-existing business? And this is a classic one. hi, we've been running a business for 5 years, but we want to do an ICO to raise funds for something slightly off centre of the business. But we won't use it for the business, of course. Yeah, that's always, anytime you see those two connected like that, there needs to be a clear differentiation between one business part and another's business part. So any AMA, anything like that that's identified, it needs to be asked about. Is this going to be used to fund your currently running business model? If so, then okay. Again, so legislation of currency origin, implications for legislative bodies. In other words, in Australia, we're pretty lucky. Things are good. The government doesn't want to mess us around too much. Maybe because we're still working out what the NBN is. It won't take too long for them to work out that mums and dads are putting a fair bit of money into crypto, and they probably want to start keeping an eye on that. And I think in our country, because we're going through a Royal Commission with the banks, and to be honest, tinfoil hat, it might be used, whatever rules is, because it all happened from basically money laundering is what happened. 50,000 cases of money laundering at a particular bank here, or alleged, I'll say. So that's going to raise some questions in the Royal Commission, and I'll bet you the banks will go, look, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you're going to stop money laundering, crypto's a money laundering thing. Yeah. So the reality is, yes, you've got to keep an eye on what your governments and what your jurisdictions are up to, because a few subtle law changes and all of a sudden things get a bit more difficult. You might not be allowed to, they might say, you've got to be a qualified investor or so. Who knows? And you could go your Orson Welles theory and think in 20, 30 years time it goes really crazy. The government might say, look, you can't be a part of it at all. There's an amnesty, we'll buy back your money, go back to fiat, or who knows. But just tinfoil hat, shit can happen. Look at China. Bans Bitcoin every year. It's Happy New Year in China. Yeah, Bitcoin. Okay. Now, investor metrics. This is a good one. Venture capitalists, whales, and anti-whale measures. This is important for me, because what I find is a lot of companies will go off and do something sweet behind the scenes, or even during an ICO period, and I'll bet you that kind of money that gets introduced has got some pretty nice return, and that return is going to come first from the investors. So if there's some big VCs, what were their deals? Have they got token lock-ins, in other words vesting periods? Whales, in other words, have we got a mechanism to try and reduce too much of the pie being set to just one person? Anti-whale measures. Now some ICOs have done this pretty good. It's not hard, but just the fact that they think about it, try to do something about it, means they acknowledge it, and I think they should get credit for stuff like that. As I said, lock-in periods, VC previous history trend. You see a few guys jumping ships, and they're bringing the hype. Yes, it's great, it's pump and dump, but in the long-term scheme of things, they're not healthy. Smart contract metrics. Not much, because this is where I'd like the community feedback, but I really think security and verification is key. It needs to be really analysed, because this is what the system's about. It's I give you something in automatically, autonomously, without a third party, something comes back, and then all of a sudden something happens from that. Now, at the moment, most of the contracts are just about, here, you give me Ethereum and I'll give you some token, and off you go to the exchange. But some actually do give you cool things like voting and stuff like that. So, but I've seen issues, and I'll call out this one. It was called Zyber, and it ticked a few boxes, except for the guy looked like a douche, and I should have taken the hint from that anyway. But hey, I probably look like a douche. So, but at the end of the day, Zyber was a legitimate product to a degree. It looked like it'd been ripped off from the open source world, but it was attaching mobile phone calls to the blockchain. So that was the nuts and bolts of it. And they had an ICO, and it had a smart contract, and yes, it did have an address, but it had a code flaw, and the code flaw allowed someone to basically suicide the contract. Well, that was great, because basically a lot of people lost their money. Stuff like that needs to be identified, argued, verified, whatever, before launch. And I think that's really key. It's a lot of I guess, hope that everything's good behind the scenes. But I'd love to have someone who's smart enough in what Solidity or whatever language is, depending on whatever the ICO, to go through it. So yeah, this is above board. A classic one was the Chronologic day token release. When they actually released the day token, the guy forgot to carry the decimal point over one, and that caused a bit of havoc. So they had to can that release, call it yesterday, and release a new token called today. So yeah, it was a schoolboy error, but they happen. We're all human. So I think these things need to be verified. So once you go through those metrics and you start getting an understanding of how one might impact another, then you can start deciding, well, the hype, it's a pump and dump coin. It could be something I make a lot of money on. And Substratum and a few other Power Ledger, they're good ideas. When they get going, I think they're great ideas. But at the moment, they're more ideas than they are reality. But the money's come back on those ones big time, and I'm happy I invested in it. But then you've got some long-term holds where the ones you really think, okay, wait up, I like this Kyma network, or I like this 0x, or I think Neo's got a chance, or they're the holds. They're the ones you kind of put away, and you look at it and you go, yep, in 10 years time hopefully they're going to make you and your kids happy. Or what I do with some good ICOs, I'm not sure. I mean, Substratum should have been one of them because this would have paid off. But most of them I go with the 40-60 rule. I take out when they pump and they hit something, and I try and get at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 times, depending on how the market movement's going and what exchanges it's getting listed on. Then I want to take out, I'd love to take out slaps. So I'll take out 15% straight away because that covers my initial cost, maybe 20%, and maybe take another 10% more just to put some money in my pocket. And then you let it ride a bit more, and if it pikes a bit more, I might take another 10-15% off. And then with Power, where it hit 80, I kind of cashed out. But I can't argue. Profit is profit is profit. It's almost like anyone from out there in Star Trek, Ferengis. You're going to mix Ferengi with Vulcan. You've got to have little emotion and no real affiliation. Right? Don't hold is a dangerous thing unless you've got a winning coin. So at least make your money back with hold coins and then do what you want with it. But yeah, that's some of the stuff I want to bring into the metrics. So I will go through the information. I will start off like everyone else, scratching from the dirt. I'm in my shed in Australia because it's a quieter spot in considering the house. If the kids knew I was on YouTube, they'll be jumping all up around the background showing off. So hopefully I earn my stripes, do it the hard way, prove my worth, show my analytical skills, and maybe get some street cred from everyone. And maybe we can take it to these ICO companies and keep the bastards honest, as I say, buddy. I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions. I think they need to be asked. If I can ask them in Telegram and get banned, well, then they're the first question that needs to be asked on the AMA kind of thing. So it'd be good to be a point of authority. But I'm not the all-powerful Wizard of Oz. I'm from Oz, but not the wizard. So look, happy to take feedback, happy to improve, happy to analyse different ICOs. Remember, I'm 9 to 5. I'm not like the rest of these guys that can afford to take the rest of their lives off work, but I love to be, and I think we all should be. I think the good thing about blockchain is it might actually create a real liberalism of some capitalism. So yeah, we'll see how this goes in the next few years, but hopefully we're all there for the journey, making some money. So I've said a piece. That's who I am, how I think, and as I said, work on from Oz, and hopefully I'll do some more videos, and any ideas, just throw them out there on the board. Also, just click subscribe. Thank you.